What's up, family? How you doing? I'm making this video today on the power of assumption. I first learned the power of assumption from Neville Goddard. If you don't know who Goddard is, I suggest you look him up immediately. He's a great metaphysical teacher from back in the day. He's helped change my life tremendously. Um, it's so powerful what he has taught, and his teachings live on to this day because they resonate. But the power of assumption is so revolutionary for our makeup, and everything starts in the imagination. So assumption comes from the word assume. So you have to assume that you are what you want to be. We assume a lot of bull crap a lot. We do those assumptions, but we don't assume what we should with for our lives. So if you want to be rich, you have to assume that you're rich, because the universe doesn't give you what you want. The universe gives you what you are. And you hear this over and over again from people who are successful. They assumed that they were that before they became that. In any field, doesn't matter what you want. It can be, professional, it can be emotional, it can be spiritual, it can be material. Whatever you want, you have to assume you already have it. Now, the best way to do these assumptions is with well, it starts with a thought, but then visualization. And the best time to do these visualizations is when you're about to go to sleep. It's called akin to sleep. You want to be in a state akin to sleep. You don't want to be fully asleep, but you want to be resting, and then you want to start thinking about what you want and visualizing this. And I'm not talking out my butt. I've done this plenty of times for plenty of different things. Is it perfect? No, but it is capable, and or it's more, what I want to say, it's more feasible with repetition. The more you do it, the more you get it. And your subconscious mind takes over, just like riding a bike or driving a car. When you first start doing it, it's hard as hell. Even walking, when you first started walking, it wasn't easy. And then next thing your subconscious takes over, and now you driving to a spot, or you driving home and you don't even know how you got there. So it's the same thing with the power of assumption, and it comes back to awareness, because our minds go everywhere. We have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and your mind can just go, left. A lot of times it goes left because that's where it's comfortable. Even if you're having a bad thought, if you're used to that state, then it's comfortable. And this happens a lot to us everywhere, and sometimes we don't realize what we do until it's done. And that's why a lot of people end up dead or in jail or in some real horrible situations, because of their lack of awareness. You need to be aware of what you're doing. You need to be aware if you're hurting yourself, if you're hurting others, if you're on demon time or angel time. And having that awareness, staying in the present moment and being aware of what you're doing will change your life forever. Another big part is gratitude. Keeping an attitude of gratitude. There's so many things to be grateful for. The fact that you're alive, the fact that you're watching this video right now and you're alive, that's something to be tremendously grateful for. Okay? The fact that you're not in jail, you're not incarcerated, that's something to be tremendously grateful for. And, I've been locked up. I never went to prison, but did a couple, nothing crazy. I've never been locked up for a long time, but I've been locked up multiple times, and that shit sucks. It super duper sucks. So the fact that you're not locked up, or you're not incarcerated, or you're not in the hospital right now, and I just got out the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and the roommate that I was with, he was a 60-something-year-old guy, 67, I think, and he said, any day walking out the hospital alive is a good day. And that's what that you got to be grateful for everything. I'm grateful for right now. I'm grateful to be making this video. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be able to hear. I hear the shingles of another house, and I can see and I can feel and I can, talk. And some people that can't do that, walk. I tell my children all the time, and it's so funny because when me and my children go out, I take them to the park or the mall or something, we always see a kid around their age, that's in a wheelchair or paraplegic or, can't do the things that they can do. And they're happy. And I'm saying that they're not happy, but I always point that out to my children. I say, be grateful. Be grateful God gave you a healthy, strong body that you can use. You can walk, you can talk, you can see, you can hear, you can feel. And that level of gratitude puts you in a place of light where you can, because you're feeling grateful, now the universe gives you more things to be grateful for. So getting back to the original point of the power of assumption, you need to assume you are what you want to be. And this is a big thing for, I'm from the hood, and I'm talking to everybody, but, especially my people that's in the trenches, that's in the hood. Like, you hear there's so many stories and instances of people getting out the hood. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes you can't take the hood out of people, but that's a whole different, another video. But, you can manifest yourself out of any situation if you want to get out of it. I've seen it. I've done it personally. You know what I'm saying? My children, live in the suburbs, thank God now. We started in the hood, we had to do what we had to do, but we got out. And, you hear so many instances of people that got out and they stayed out. So, but that comes with a dream, an assumption that you can do it. You have to see yourself. I'm going to have that house. I'm going to live on that block. I'm going to live in that neighborhood. I'm going to live in that state. Sometimes you got to leave where you're from. That's another thing people don't understand. Like, sometimes you got to get away, man. You got to get away from what you're used to. Yeah, you know what I mean? Sometimes we put ourselves in our own prison, because we're scared to expand. You got to get out, man. The world is yours. This is all our world. People ask where you from, where I'm from. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Jersey, but I'm from Earth. I'm from the universe. You know what I mean? This is all ours. This is where I'm from. So, don't be scared to, to branch out and to do something different, because that can change your life forever. One decision can change your life forever, dude. For the better. So, do what you have to do, but starts all in the mind. And you have to assume that you are. Now, don't want, because when you want, that shows lack. If you want something, that means you don't have it. So when you assume, you have to assume that you are what you want already. You have it. If you want to be a millionaire, you're already a millionaire. If you want to be in a relationship, you're already in a relationship. You know what I mean? You want to be a better person, you're already that better person. The fact that you even want to be a better person shows that you're a better person. We're all here to love. I know it's hard to love sometimes, but that's some punk shit. Punk crap. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? Real gangster stuff is showing love. Cowards take from others. You know what I mean? Show love. That shows real strength. You know what I mean? That's why I make these videos, to show love. And to show that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's bright. You just got to stay the course. And, not get caught up with the bull crap. Not care what other people think. Sometimes you got to care. You can't care what you think. Because sometimes you be your own worst enemy. Talking yourself out of blessings and glory, because you keeping it real goes wrong. You ever seen Dave Chappelle, keeping it real goes wrong? Sometimes you're keeping it too real with yourself and you go wrong. So just use the power of assumption. You can visualize. The best time to visualize is when you're about to go to sleep, even if you play affirmations. Sometimes, and it goes back to repetition, sometimes you can't. And this is something I learned in my book from Florence Scovel Shinn, who's also a practitioner of metaphysics and probably was a mentor of Neville Goddard as well. But in the book it says you can't always control your thoughts, but you can control your words. So just saying something positive, snaps you out of things. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I'm not sitting here like I don't snap and road rage sometimes and all that. My girlfriend laughs at me because, like, I'll curse somebody out on the road and then I say God bless you to them after. But hey, that's awareness. I'm aware that I'm mad and I'm angry. Then from that awareness, I snap out of it, and I find some positivity into it, and it's beautiful. Studies show that the more positive you are, the more situations where you're positive, it programs the mind to be positive more the next time. Because a lot of people are dead or in jail because their emotions. They don't have control over their emotions. They made an emotional decision, and now their lives are, messed up or changed for the worse forever. Or somebody's life is not here anymore. So, having control and awareness of what you're thinking and what you're feeling, and controlling that, and not letting that, alter your being and who you truly are deep down inside. Because none of us are evil. A baby isn't born evil. You know what I mean? None of us were born evil, dude. It's something that we pick up from this world over time. We're all light givers. We're all here to show love. We all have somebody we love and care about, even if it's just ourselves. So, do right by yourself. Use the power of assumption. Don't be scared. You ain't got nothing to lose. You got everything to gain. Assume you are what you are. And it's not something that, it can happen overnight. But if it doesn't, stick with it. The power of repetition. Stick with it. It takes time. You know what I mean? I've been studying this for several years. And I'm just getting to the point where, I'm getting it. And, it's beautiful, though. Because what's most important is I can, I'm teaching my children early what I learned late. That's the beauty of life, is being able to give it to others. When I talk to, I look young, so sometimes I'm 39 though, but sometimes I talk to younger men, teenagers, and they're looking at me like, who the hell are you? And I'm like, I'm 39. They're like, oh, okay, you OG. Yeah, I'm OG. I've been doing this. I survived this. What you getting into, you know what I mean? I survived it. I don't know how. Well, I do know how. God. It's all God. It's all God that I'm here right now. I'm not dead. I'm not in jail. I'm not messed over, and I'm just grateful. I'm healthy. I'm well. I'm strong. You know what I mean? And I'm just grateful to God. Getting back to my original point, I've always making these videos. This is something that I assumed a long time ago, and I made some videos and I would stop, and I made some videos and I would stop. But no matter what, this is something that I've always wanted to do and be, and it's just I can't let it go. So now I'm making videos again, and I just want to help the world, man, because this world is crazy right now. I mean, it's always been crazy, but damn, it is bonkers. Because before, we didn't have video footage of what was going on in other places. Now we can see it, and we got to stop being so numb to evil. We just, oh, whatever. Oh, yeah, baby's dying. Oh, okay. People getting bombed, and oh, whatever. No, it ain't whatever. It's horrible. And we have to do what we have to do to be light givers, and to do God's will to help this world be a better place. Evil prevails when good people do nothing. So think about what you're doing and what type of time you're on. And I'm not telling you to be perfect, because nobody's perfect. But think about whose side you're really on when you do something. And this definitely goes for my boys in the hood. Y'all got to think of what you're doing. The violence has to stop. You're going to jail or you're going to die. And that's what they want. It ain't corny going to school. It ain't corny getting a job. I was on the block after college. I did, after college didn't work out for me. I was outside for like 3-4 years. You know what I mean? On the block, doing anything and everything. Not everything, but a lot. And one of my OGs, he came to me, he said, yo, come work with me. And I was like, I can't do what you do. He's like, yes, you can. He's like, I wouldn't have asked you to do it if you couldn't. And he got me out. He got me out the streets, and I started working, and I never looked back. And now I'm here, 39 years old, healthy, well, with 4 beautiful, wonderful children, living a dream life. Just got back from the beach, took my kids to the shore, and the beach house, and things that you don't think about when you're in your 20s, or whatever, and you just don't realize, like, you can live that life, you can have that, but you have to choose it. You have to assume that you have that life, and you'll be surprised what God gives you. And living righteously is so important. Live right. I'm not telling you to be perfect, but just do the right thing. Just chill out. Don't hurt that person. Don't steal from that person. Don't mess that person over. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? And just, give it to God. Give it to God. Give it to God. You got to give it to God, man. I don't know what religion you are. I'm not saying be religious. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. But I know that there's a power greater than myself. I know that for a fact. For a fact that there's a power greater than myself working in my life. And I'm grateful for that. And that's why I use the teachings that I'm taught from the angels of God, when it comes to the law of assumption. So that's just one. So this video, again, is the law of assumption. Assume you are what you want to be, and you will get it. Watch. Peace.